G'day, my name's Josh and I'm the designer of the Split60. It's a 60% keyboard split right down the middle. And in this video, we're gonna go ahead and jump into some features and show you a little bit about it. I've been a part of the mechanical keyboard scene for about 10 years now, and a big chunk of that was as a regular consumer, and then also about half of it has also been as a business or a vendor. Over those years, I've gone ahead and actually designed a few different keyboards. And this is my newest design. Let me take you on a little bit of a journey. About 6 years ago, there were a couple of different projects that were actually floating around in the Split60 design and the Split60 space within the keyboard community. And unfortunately, none of them really came to fruition. And about 4 years ago, I decided to go through the process of actually going ahead and building and designing my own version. So I did just that. The first prototype that I actually got made was a completely different design to what we have now. It was originally using two pieces of aluminium, sandwiching them together to create this kind of case. However, you had a very clear line around the actual case itself. Shortly after getting that prototype, I decided to go ahead and actually change the entire design. I wanted to get something where I could see very much a seamless approach, where it's all one piece of metal at the top. And that's what I went ahead and actually did. So after getting that design back, I made those modifications, and then I went through the process of actually getting another prototype. And that's this prototype that you see in front of me. This is the second prototype that actually got made. And at the time I made this and another version of this board with this manufacturer. The other one is in beige. And I went through that process and I had a really awesome experience with that manufacturer. Unfortunately, their costs were just a little bit too high to make the group buy feasible. So I ended up going and spending about 1.5 years looking for another manufacturer. And so in that process, I actually ended up talking to 2 different manufacturers, and I got 4 different boards made during that time. Unfortunately, all of those boards were not very good. And so after going through that process of trying different cheaper manufacturers, I ended up going through and finding the current manufacturer that I have in front of me. And this is the black variant that you see here. And it's honestly such a spectacular design and a fantastic finish. During the process of actually making this video and finalizing everything for this group buy, it made me realize that at this point, I've been working on this board for 4 years. I have moved 3 times and I have moved jobs multiple times as well. It's crazy how long I've been working on this keyboard. Fortunately, during the design process, an opportunity actually arose where I was able to get an EC PCB made for the Split60. And so with that, I'm able to actually offer a full split HHKB layout with a full EC kit to go with it. And that is actually using keyboard treehouse parts, which I'm very fortunate to have. Their EC Navy parts allow this full design to actually happen. Without them, the board itself wouldn't have a EC PCB and fully functional EC components. So that's what I have in front of me. And that's what I'm really excited about. One of my favorite things about this keyboard is this insert. And this insert on the inside of this keyboard can actually be swapped out. So this is the aluminium version. However, here we have the polycarb. And so what this allows is it allows for LEDs to actually shine through, which you'll see here. This is a really cool feature that I think it creates a very unique effect that I've not seen on any other keyboards. And this allows essentially the RGBs to be hidden unless the board is actually split itself. Additionally, alongside that, I've actually included magnets inside the middle, inside the case, so that way the units can actually draw themselves together, and that way locking them in place. Now you might be wondering, why is it a Split60? Well, that's a great question. I really like having the desk space that is available for a 60% style keyboard. I think it has the full functionality that I'm after. I personally don't use a numpad very often, and I don't personally need the F keys. If I need those, I'll access them through function layers. However, the convenience of having a smaller keyboard is very important for me, and I also really like having ergonomic keyboards. I find that I actually work in the IT industry, and anything that I can do to prevent carpal tunnel or some injuries in my wrists, which is so common in the space when you're using keyboards and computers all the time, I'm all for it. So for me, any time that I can get a keyboard that I can actually split and allow my shoulders to actually rest a little bit more in a natural position is something that I'm actually always a big fan of. So whilst I love the 60% layout, being able to separate it is actually a really nice feature for me, and one of the things that I really enjoy about this keyboard. But I also really wanted it to be able to snap back into the middle and be able to form a full-fledged 60%, so that way if I want to play some games or anything like that, it just latches right in. And I also really like the fact that when you look at it together, you probably wouldn't notice that it is actually a split keyboard. The keyboard actually features a brass backweight with quite a unique design. This was designed by the same person who designed the Fever Dreams desk mat, which I also really love. The reason behind the design is kind of simple, but having your head split in half, interacting with both left and right side of the keyboard. Originally, when I was designing this keyboard, my plan was to actually call it the Corpus 60, and that is based on the surgery called corpus callosum, which used to be used in the 1900s, where they actually split the left and right hemisphere of the brain in half, where they cut the connections down the middle. And I always thought that was very fascinating, so that's what I was originally going with the board. However, Split60 is kind of stuck, and I didn't end up changing the name, but also Split60 very much describes exactly what this keyboard is. It's a Split60, so I've decided to stick with that. Alongside that, the actual back as well has these additional holes here, and those are available for tenting. And so when I go through and do some typing tests later, you'll actually see that with tenting enabled, so you'll be able to see what that looks like. The board will have an optional either HHKB or WinKey layouts. Unfortunately, no WinKeyless, but you'll be able to pick between those two. And that's just my personal preference. That's what I originally designed for. The board will come in either purple, black, or beige, and you'll get to be able to choose between those. By default, the kit will actually come with an MX PCB. However, if you want to add on additional plates or an EC PCB kit, we can definitely organize that as well. That'll be available as an extra. To make the board work, as it is both sides, whichever PCB you end up choosing, the board itself actually functions with 4 different daughter boards. It only needs 3 to be used at one time. However, 4 will be included to allow for symmetry and allow you to plug in either the left or right side with the main connector. And then there is a USB-C connector that connects the 2 in between. Well, that's everything. Thanks for looking at the Split60, and if this board interests you, then I'm sure you'll be able to find it. Otherwise, thanks for watching my little video, and have a good one. Until next time.